Hey, welcome everybody to our joint webinar between Ephesoft and our strategic platinum partner in Asia, Deloitte Consulting. We have a lot of content to cover today, so let's get started, and I'll be moving straight into the agenda. Okay, so to kick us off, what I'm going to do is give an overview of our partnership with Deloitte in the Asia region, and also be quickly introducing Ephesoft. Our guest speaker for today, Roman Dehaye, he'll be talking about the IA, or the intelligent automation industry, and sharing some of the best practices in order to deliver successful, scalable projects. And then we'll have Alistair Alas. He'll be showcasing a few demonstrations which highlight how Ephesoft is really the engine that powers all the downstream applications to create true ROI, while touching on some of Ephesoft's features and our focus on innovation itself. And just to quickly introduce ourselves. So my name's Stephen Lee. I'm the Vice President for the Asia Pacific region for Ephesoft, and I've been handling that business for 4 years now. I mentioned earlier our guest speaker, Roman Dehaye. He's the Director of Artificial Intelligence and Data at Deloitte Consulting, and he's very much the front person for all the projects that we've been successful and deployed within the region. And then lastly, we have Alistair Alas, who's our Senior Pre-Sales Consultant, also covering the Asia Pacific region. In terms of our partnership together between Ephesoft and Deloitte, this partnership and strategic alliance has been operating for over 2 years now. It's been very successful. We have multiple projects in place spanning across 6 different countries across multiple industries, which I'll be talking about shortly as well. And the reason we've been able to be so successful together is because how closely we work together, and the fact that Deloitte Consulting's practice has 50 or over 50 fully trained and certified Ephesoft consultants. So a little bit about Ephesoft ourselves. We're an 11-year-old company now, and a leading innovator in the intelligent document processing space, or as it's called now, IDP. We're very much the best in breed for document capture, and that's been our focus, is really to modernize and democratize document capture. When we started out, we were the first ones in the market to offer a fully cloud, hybrid, or on-premise model. And we really focused and doubled down on companies with high volume and high value documents. And so we work very closely with large enterprises that have business operations crossing multiple different countries. And again, we cover multiple different use cases as well. And you can see on the bottom right there, we also partner with a number of different technology providers, and we have alliances set up globally around the world. So I'm sure you recognize a lot of the names there, which we'll be also diving into a little bit later. But the whole point of today's webinar is around scalability and how you really generate ROI using intelligent document processing. So this slide here really just shows you, firstly, the number of use cases that we've covered across just the Asia Pacific region alone. And at the bottom there, you see certain companies and logos we've chosen very specifically to, again, highlight the fact that we cover multiple industries. We're not purely a financial services application, or we're not purely a government public sector solution. We really cover all types of industry and help all types of enterprises and organizations around automation. And the strength of our product is the fact that when we do work with clients, we focus on fixing one problem statement first, and then we start exploring other problem statements to really build out that ROI and build out that scale. So with that, I hope that set the scene nicely. I'm going to pass it over to our partner over there, Romain. He's going to take over now and lead us into part 2 of our webinar today. Over to you, Romain.
Thank you, Stephen, and good morning, everyone. So I'll quickly introduce our team in the region. So the Intelligent Automation team sits under an analytics and cognitive practice at Deloitte. And this is built this way because we can combine different skill sets, so data engineers, data scientists, and intelligent automation experts. What you see on the right side is our analytics and cognitive team. What's really important about intelligent automation at Deloitte is that we consider it as more than just one technology, more than just IDP or RPA or IBPM. What we find across more than 50 projects in the region is that by combining these different technologies, you can actually deliver maximum business value. So it's an ecosystem, and we are specialized in a whole range of technologies in this ecosystem. In our team, so we have people across Southeast Asia, so that's Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam. And like I said, we have delivered more than 50 projects, most of the time combining technologies. And the specificity at Deloitte is that we help our clients scale. So we do large-scale transformations, which is, as I will explain later on, probably the hardest things to do. So the difficulty right now is really how to scale intelligent automation and end up with hundreds of automation in production, because this is where the value is actually generated. And in order to enable that for our clients, we have designed our team in a very specific way. So first, everyone is certified with one of the tools for RPA and certified with Ephesoft. We have also combined the different skill sets. So we don't dissociate business analysts, solution architects, and developers. Everyone in the team is doing everything. And in the case of intelligent automation, we really find that this is a key success factor, because the projects, for example, that involve Ephesoft, these are not IT projects, these are not business projects, this is both. So you need to be able to cross and bridge the functional and technical in order to make it successful. So that's why we have designed our team this way. And the last point is, again, to refer back to what I've said at the beginning, we have data engineering and data science capabilities that are very important to enable these intelligent technologies. So that's for the intro. If we can move on to the, yeah, okay. So just a bit of a deep dive here on the technologies that we look after. So the first one, and probably the most famous at the moment, is robotic process automation. So most of our projects include RPA. And the next one is what we call intelligent document processing, so Ephesoft in this case. And we find that by combining these two technologies, we can really generate amazing value, typically solve the accounts payable problem and really do much more than with just RPA or IDP. There's another technology that is quite important for us is workflow orchestration or intelligent business process management. And again, by combining these three technologies, we can deliver value beyond just digitization. There are other things that we look after, process mining, process analytics, and of course, we can also build machine learning models to automate decision-making within a process. So it's really important to consider this as an ecosystem. Ephesoft, in our case, is a very important part of it, but it's by, again, combining different tools in the toolbox that we can really generate maximum value. Yes, we can move on to the next one. So that's just an illustration of that. So we have seen an evolution in the maturity and the market. So essentially, right now we are in the right part of it, and we can start seeing the future of operations, which combines again these technologies. So this is a reality now. It started 5 years ago, and now we're really seeing the market that this is a reality. And the future of operations means that you have automated operations that are orchestrated across the value chain. And all these automations generate a wealth of data that you can then analyze to inform business decisions. So that's what we call the future of operations. And by combining these technologies, we can actually do that. It's very interesting to note that 73% of the firms that we have surveyed this year, we have a yearly study, have actually embarked in intelligent automation. So I think the question is not anymore, should we do it? I think it's very clear that everyone is convinced by the value of intelligent automation. The real question now is how to scale it. And this is, as I will explain on the next slide, the pain point. So again, really 73% of organizations have started their journey. So you can see it's not a debate anymore. 5 years ago, our team was called to do some POCs and try to answer the question, should we do it or not? Now it's not the case anymore. The real question is how to scale. And you can see on the left side in this chart, it's also part of our annual study, that organizations have identified very clearly that it's by combining technologies that you can actually deliver the value. So in this case, you have, in the top ones, you have RPA, OCR, ICR, IDP, IBPM, and AI. So these are always the technologies that come first. And there is a clear understanding that you need to have a bit of everything. Now, I think the discussion has evolved also in terms of why should we do it? 5 years ago, I think quite strongly, the objective was to cut costs, right? So it can still be an objective, but I think we have matured the discussion, and now it's much more about having better quality of operation, better turnaround time, increase employee and customer satisfaction. So all these side benefits that were not necessarily considered at the beginning, they have become more and more important. And the driver for organizations to start an intelligent automation journey is really to get to the future of operations. So it's quite interesting. And what's also interesting is that this, in spite of that, in spite of the fact that all organizations right now are virtually convinced that they should do it, many of them have still not calculated their payback period, which is a key reason why we will see on the next slide. How do I refer? The scaling has not been, yes, this one. So, okay, for this one, once the organization decides to embark in this journey, it's quite interesting to analyze why and also what kind of automations they do. So we find still that in a large majority of cases, the organizations focus on automating the current state process. So really using an IDP tool, for example, to digitize invoices and feed that to SAP, for example, or build an RPA robot to automate a process as is. But I think this is slowly changing. And more we see that intelligent automation is part of an overall transformation. And the objective is to change the way operations run. So in the past, we could do business process reengineering, for example. We could do operating model design. Now, intelligent automation has become a driver of this operational transformation. And more organizations look at their value chain and re-engineer their processes at the same time as implementing intelligent automation. So that's a good finding as well. And can we move on to the next one? Yeah, and that's the target. It's actually explaining what we're trying to achieve here, which is the future of operations. So we call that also digital operations. So in the past, you had what we call legacy operations. Everything is constrained on-premise. Now, where we're going is that operations are done in the cloud. So most of the systems are cloud-based, and you can have 11 applications that actually manage your processes. In the past, operations were, the offerings were driven by the market mainly. Now what we see is that it's data-driven. So the insights generated by operations instruct even the business strategy and the customer offerings. Another point is that in terms of customer experience, it was enabled by internal operations and they were driving it. But now we shape and design operations to increase or enable customer experience. So that's also a very important point because there's a shift in mindset. It's not trying to fit the customer's demand. It's really the other way around, and then shaping your operations to give the maximum customer satisfaction. Of course, operations used to be manual and decisions as well, but now what we see with the future of operation is that it's automation-led. So you would have robots, algorithms, intelligent platforms automating the process, generating a wealth of data, and instructing decision-making. And more, we also see that the service is a self-service. So people want to be able to figure out on their own how to troubleshoot. And now more and more people are used to, for example, using a virtual assistant to tackle their queries. So this is, again, the direction where we're going. I can have the next. Yeah, so just to summarize that a little bit, a key success factor in order to scale automation is not to look at that just from the technology angle, but what we want to do with it, and also to see that as part of a transformation. And this transformation is not only operational excellence, but it's also business model and operating model transformation. So in most of the clients that we work with and where we use Ephesoft, for example, this comes in the context of a business transformation. And we find that this is what generates the most value. And if you look at the 3 layers here, the key question number 1 is where to play and how to win. So you can really use intelligent automation to instruct this business strategy. Like I said, when your operation generates a wealth of data around your processes, you get insights that you would not get from customer behavior. You can analyze where are the bottlenecks in your processes, if there is an increase in a particular product or service. So it's a very powerful way to enable your business model. The other one is the operating model. So I think intelligent automation has really evolved from being almost a gadget that companies would try and see if they get some value. Now it's at the core of operating model design. So you would have, of course, your policy, your processes, your organization, and then your technology layer. But now intelligent automation is really seen as an enabler of an operating model transformation. And of course, obviously, when it comes to operational excellence, so it's a big shift because in the past, we used to do business process reengineering, Lean Six Sigma, etc. And now I think we have all observed that these approaches have some limits, but with intelligent automation, you have the ability to really solve a key business problem. And it's again at the center of this operational excellence. So very often with our clients, we would design, let's say, a center of excellence that includes both business process reengineering and intelligent automation. So now these capabilities are seen working really together to deliver the business outcome. If you can move on to the next one. Okay, so and just to focus on the top part, and one of the key aspects on how organization can scale is to ask ourselves, what is the business problem that we are trying to solve? 5 years ago, we were seeing a lot of companies having a solution-driven approach. We have heard of RPA, we have heard of IDP. Let's try it and try and generate some value. But now there's clearly a shift in the discussion is why should we actually do that? So different organizations have different objectives. Some of our clients, they have the top line as an objective. They want to increase their revenue. And by deploying intelligent automation, you have the ability to launch new products, new services, and then increase your market penetration. Really, we have seen that some of our automations have supported a business strategy in a way that the CEO in this case wanted to deploy a new line of business. So you can really integrate that and instead of using human workers only, use also virtual workers to enable. Of course, cost reduction is another one that is very important. even though, like I said, it's less and less important. But some organizations are, shrinking margins, and they want to automate their operations to create capacity, sometimes to use also this extra capacity to support an actual product launch. So that's a really good reason to do intelligent automation, is to really accompany the business strategy. I think one of the things that have been more and more observed is that with intelligent automation, we can improve customer experience. So for some of our clients, we have done CSAT and realized that once our automations were in production, generate the CSAT score increased quite significantly. Clients see an improved turnaround time, improvement in quality, and then they can also get access to some data, to explain where is my, let's say, my claim, for example, standing right now. A last point, which I think has been very, very clearly observed in financial services, is that you may want to use intelligent automation to reduce your operational risk and sometimes even increase your regulatory compliance, because an automation only makes mistakes when it's programmed to make mistakes, as opposed to humans who may have a bad day and can make errors in the processes. So again, another very, very good reason to do intelligent automation. So I think these were the 2 points that I would say explain how we can scale intelligent automation. The first one is to have a very clear strategy. Why do we want to do that? What is the business problem that we are trying to solve? And then the second point would be to frame this initiative as part of a business model transformation or an operating model transformation or a process excellence initiative, or all of them at the same time. This is really how we have been able to successfully scale into automation at some very, very big clients. So I guess, Steven, that's it for me.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, Ron, for that. Very, very insightful and educational, and it's always good as well just to take away to not just focus on the technology and the applications, but really how do we re-engineer the process and ensure that we've got buy-in at every level. I think one thing we always observe is that change management component, as well as expectation setting, is crucial to making sure these projects are successful. So thanks, Ron. Of course, everyone on the webinar and so forth will have an opportunity to reach out to all of us at any time to further that discussion. But next, what we're going to do is move into part 3, which is the demonstration. And what we're going to be really focusing on as part of the demonstration is how to optimize downstream processes or downstream applications using IDP. And we're going to focus on a couple of areas, namely that is RPA and BPM, so robotic process automation and business process management. So before I pass it over to Alistair, I did want to frame it up in regards to the problem statement itself. As you can see, the problem we've seen arise a lot over the last 2 years is really around how to, again, optimize existing investments in other intelligent automation applications. And the missing piece, again, is really intelligent document processing and providing structured data to those downstream applications. One thing we hear a lot from clients with Deloitte and also ourselves is that, they've made the big investments again in these other applications, but maybe they're still manually keying in lots of data to provide that structured component. So in a way, people have taken a step back and gone backwards and said we need to focus on that IDP portion. And with a lot of other vendors trying to add that as a component, a lot of our clients have seen that we actually need a mature solution, not something that's more slapstick and not something that purely just digitizes the data. But how do we actually offer something that is intelligent and provides a layer of auto classification or auto extraction that seamlessly feeds into those downstream applications. Speaking of downstream applications, one thing I did want to highlight on the slide here is our technology alliances. I briefly touched on it earlier, but you can see on the right, we partner with the largest sort of RPA, BPM, analytics, document management system companies in the world. But that's not to say we don't partner with other tools as well. We've done myself over 50 different projects in just the last few years, just in Asia Pacific alone. And we've seen a number of different startup solutions that we work really well with. Or aside from that, we work with, in regards to our larger enterprise clients, we're generally integrating with their own in-house tools that their development teams have built over time as well. So interoperability is a real strength of ours, whether it's the native integrations feeding into the solutions that you see on the right there and who make up our alliance technology partners, or whether it's just feeding into custom applications that we need to work with. We really help provide that flexibility to our clients. So that said, what I'm going to do now is pass you over to Alistair, who's going to be showing you two specific applications and how Ephesoft sits in the background, powering all that activity. Okay, over to you, Al.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. So what I'm going to be doing is showing a couple of demos today, 3 demos in total. The first one is a very simple, straightforward Ephesoft to UiPath to an ERP solution, where we receive a document in Transact, we get the data, we extract it, we pass it to UiPath via a CSV file, and then UiPath will upload that file into the ERP. So very simple automation, a very simple integration just by using a simple text file from being passed from Ephesoft to UiPath. So that's the first demo that I'm going to show you. The second one, Steve, if we can just go on to the second one, is what I've got a thing missing there. Can you just hit it again, Steve, in case there's... thank you. I wasn't expecting that. That's a nice challenge for the day. First thing to, yeah, it's a live demo, guys. So the second one is what I class as UiPath to Ephesoft. So you're not actually going to see Ephesoft running or Transact running in this in the second demo. So basically, UiPath's going to have a bot running. It's going to pick up it's going to process a folder, and then from that folder, it's going to pick up an invoice, and it's going to then pass that to Transact. Transact's going to extract the metadata, pass it back to UiPath, and then UiPath is going to upload that data into an ERP solution. Just to clarify, all 3 demos are going to be based around an invoice, but as it sort of mentioned earlier by Stephen and both Romain as well, this could be any type of documents, but it's just for today's demos, they are going to be invoices that we're going to be processing. And then finally, the third finale, which is fireworks and everything. Steve, can you just press it again, because we're still missing one? Thank you. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be a live demo, all of them are going to be live, but this one is actually going to be receiving an email. So I'm going to send an email to an email address. Transact's going to be monitoring that email address. It's going to pick up the data. It's going to process the data. And with this one, my aim is that it's actually going straight through processing. So unless there's something goes very wrong, you're not going to actually see Transact running in the background. And this is what I think we should be looking for, and sort of just confirm some of the points that have been made earlier on. It's an automated straight-through processing that we're going to see, and this is what we should be looking at doing. So once Transact receives it, it's going to process it and then push that data out to Box. And it could be Box, it could be SharePoint, it could be any other type of document repository. What's then going to happen is that's going to trigger off a process in a workflow solution, and I'm using Nintext in this one. And I saw earlier there's other ones that Ron had highlighted, such as Pega or whatever. So again, we're going to be triggering off a process within BPM. That's going to send off a notification to an approver to say we need this invoice approving, or we need this claim approving, or whatever the document type is that we're going to be processing. It's going to respond back with approved or reject. That's then going to go back to Box and move it from, is it going to be an approved invoice? Is it going to be a rejected invoice? It's going to update the metadata in there. It's going to put a comment on the document. And then finally, it's going to notify Slack that invoice has been processed. So the point is the fact that Transact's in the really key to that whole process by extracting the data and making sure the data is clean and in good order when it passes it over for the business then to make the decisions about how we go ahead and process that, and then notify people that everything is done and dusted. So this is a grand finale with lots of things being fired off and triggered off as well. There is one other thing that we're updating as well, and I'll explain later on in that, but we're also updating a SQL database, so there's other things that we can consider at that point as well. So that being said, I shall now, it's time for the show. Let's get in there, and I'll share the sort of presentations. So let me just share my screen. And let's get this going. So the first one is simple transact to UiPath. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, so the very first scenario is, here's an invoice that we're going to be receiving. So the whole point is if you think of this in a manual process, invoice gets received. This could be received in any way. It could be an email, it could be in the post or whatever. So what I want to be able to do is extract some of this key metadata to put it into this back-end account system. So this back-end account system, so I'm just going to rearrange some things on my screen. So this could back-ends, could be SAP, it could be Oracle, it could be whatever different type of application. But so what we're going to do is I'm going to show how we can receive this, how we can extract some metadata, and you will see transact in this particular demo. This will then, at the end of transact, and it's going to be the simplest form of integration I know, is we're going to drop a CSV file into here. I'm going to have a UiPath robot running, or a bot running, I should use a common technology. I'll have a bot running, it's going to pick up this CSV file, and it's going to populate the screen. So let me just close this down, just make sure the bot is running. So the bot's now running. Okay, so let me get transact up. In the interest of time, I've already uploaded this to what this is going to be today, guys. Is going to be just showing how the integration is going to work and how we're going to run this demo. It's not a full-blown transact demo. I'm happy to do that if anyone needs to see that at a later date. This is just a simple transact demo to show you how we can integrate the two applications together. So I've already received this document. I've already received an invoice. It's come in. It could have come in through email. It could have been scanned. It could have been put into a drop folder. It could have come through a portal. Many different ways we could have received this. But it's come in. It's gone through the normal workflow that we have within Transact. We've ingested it. We've identified it as it being an invoice. It could be a credit note. It could have been a delivery docket. It could have been a purchase order. But it's identified it correctly. It's gone through the extraction of the data. So I've told it to extract some key fields. Not only have I extracted some key fields, I've also done some database lookups to pull back some additional information, and I can show that later. But it's now actually stopped at validation. So I need to go and have a look at what's occurred. And really, all I'm doing is I've put a false review on it so I can actually show you what it looks like within Transact. So left-hand side, I've got the thumbnail. In the middle, I've got some of the metadata that's been extracted. On the right-hand side, I've actually got the document itself. So as you can see here, using the standard sort of key value extraction, I've been able to get the invoice number off it. So if this invoice number was over here, down here, or wherever, I'd still find it because I'm not looking for key positioning. I've got the date, I've got the invoice total, and also I've got some details about the vendor as well. I've got the name of the vendor, I've got this is an Australian invoice, I've got the ABN number, but I've also extracted our internal supplier number as well. So this is where I've gone off to a back-end system and pulled some additional information off it. So this may be needed for sort of downstream type processing for within the accounts payable solution. So once I've looked at it, and the only reason it stopped in validation was because I've actually set this field here to be force validate. Otherwise it would have gone straight through and it'd been perfect and what we were all looking for, straight through processing. So all I need to do, hit validate, and as soon as I've hit validate, this will then go through the export process, and in this document in here you'll see a CSV file appear fairly quick. It's just running. The CSV file will appear, and then hopefully UiPath will fire off, pick up that file, and it will start populating the invoice for us. So you can now see I've got my hands here, there's no typing going on, there's nothing going on. This is all being organized by the robot. It's just picking up that text file, processing it and putting it through. So if you can imagine a user having to spend time doing all this manually, it's going to take a long time. And if they're doing it with, say, 100 invoices, 200 invoices on a daily basis, within what we class as a batch, it's going to take them a long time to achieve this. Whereas we've been able to push this through the whole process, and within a minute or 2 minutes, it's been able to do this for us automatically. I'll just let this one run through. So it's just all it's now doing is populating, then it's just going to hit the button, and that's going to be added to the accounts payable solution. So Transact being very key to that process has extracted the data, made sure it's in good order, and now passed it back in, and it's now all done and dusted. And that's the end of that, that whole process. So that's demo number 1 done, which is a fairly easy and straightforward integration between Transact going to UiPath. Let me just close a few things down. Next, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to change it around now and show you a different process, which is UiPath calling Transact. So we're not actually going to see Transact running at all, but you're going to see the same process again, whereas an invoice is going to be picked up, it's going to be processed, and then it's going to be pushed into the accounts payable solution without actually seeing Transact at all. It's all being run by UiPath. So just bear with me 1 second, please. So I'll just close this down, just go here. So I'll call that Transact to UiPath. This one is going to be UiPath to Ephesoft. So just, this is live presentations, guys, so it just takes a little time to just sort of set this all up. Okay, so again, I can use the same document, so it's all in here. So this one, it's just a simple bot, and we have just a couple of methods that it's going to be called. So we have out-of-the-box integration from UiPath into Transact. I've configured a bot. I'd say one of my colleagues, Steph, has helped me sort of create this bot and make sure it all works properly. And what you're going to see now is it's going to start it. It's going to run. It's going to ask me to. It's going to prompt me for a where the actual invoices are. I'm going to go and select where it is. So I have here invoice demo. I have UiPath Transact. I'm going to pick that up. Well, actually, I'll pick that one. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to process it, and then what's going to happen is it's going to go through the whole process of extracting it. Oops. As in all demos, I've had my first, we have a slight issue, just bear with me 1 second. Invoice demo. Okay, let's just ignore that. Okay, what I'll do, I'll come back to that later and show you what's happening. But basically what we have is we have the integration within Transact, where what we're doing is we're calling, we're passing the file over to a batch class within Transact. Transact then is going to extract the metadata from the document. It's going to process the document and return back an XML file to UiPath. And then UiPath is going to populate the screen that we saw earlier with all the metadata that's been extracted from it. So we're going to see it sort of just loading up and doing it. I'm not quite sure what's actually happened at the moment, but it's a similar thing as what we saw on the very first demo, where it loads up the screen, it populates it with that particular data. Okay, what I'm going to do now is show you the third presentation, which is taking a document and pushing it through into the box solution. So let me just go over to this one here. So what we have is we have a combination of things here. We have box, where I'm going to put an invoice into the box, into this file. So when I process it, the invoice is going to go into here. This is then going to fire off the process within Nintex, which is going to send out an email that's going to ask us to do rejection or approval. Once the decision has been made, it's either going to be moved to approve or it's going to be moved to reject. And then from there, we're also going to get a message coming in up here in the Slack, a Slack channel, to tell us what's actually happened with that particular invoice. So let's just have a quick look at this. So this is where I'm actually going to send an email in. So I have an email address that Transact's going to be monitoring. As you see at the moment, if I log on, this is a job for handwriting, which I'm going to talk about a bit later on. But at the moment, there's no invoice processing going on within this Transact at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this up. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to bring in the same invoice I've always been processing before that you saw earlier in the UiPath demo. I'm going to send this to Transact. So I'm going to be monitoring this particular email address. I'm going to hit send. And then what's going to happen is, in a second, we should see, as this is a live demo, it's just going to take a little bit of time to hit the email address. And as soon as it hits that email address, Transact's going to pick it up. And it will start to process it. And hopefully, because the way I've actually set it, it's going to go all the way through without having to stop at the validation stage. So we're just waiting it. One of the other things, just while I wait for that to hit the system, is I've also got a SQL database here as well. So when the document has been processed, it will populate the information into this database as well. So not only are we going to Box, not only are we going to the workflow process, not only are we going to Slack, but we're also adding it to a database as well. And what that means is, and to one of the things that Ron was saying earlier, it was about analytics as well. So what that gives us then is the opportunity to start using the data that we've extracted within analytics tools as well. So not only can we start to do RPA, not only can we do BPM, but we can also use that data within an analytics environment as well. So let's just wait for this to hit the system. So this is taking a little bit of time. If it's not in a second, I'll just manually upload a document. I'm actually being governed by the Gmail gods at the moment, so I'm waiting for it to hit the Gmail account. So if it's not here, okay, so let me just manually upload one while I wait just to show you, because it should be here in it. Right, okay. So if I just manually upload a document, here's all my different batch classes. I'm going to bring one in. Invoice demo, validation. Bring that same document in again. Start the batch. Okay, so this job's now in, it's now running. It'll go through the whole sort of extraction. It's going to go through the whole workflow of identifying it, doing the data extraction, doing the validation. It's now going through here. So it's gone all the way through. So this is straight through processing. Because there's no need to do any validation, it's been able to extract all the data correctly. It's been able to identify all the data. Everything's been clean, straight through processing. It's gone straight through to the export process. It's now just running through that final bit, and it's now gone. So what's actually happened is we've received the document through email or through a manual upload, whichever way we need it to get that data, done the extraction. And now, if I go back to Box, I should see that there should be, this document has just loaded up, just come in now. So we've actually received this. So the document has come in. I can look at this. Let me just open this up and show you. I can see it. I can see some of the metadata that's come in. So I've manually uploaded the data. So that's now, the document has hit box successfully. So if I go back into here now, I can also see that I've just received an email from the Intech workflow. It's given me the details, the invoice approval, it's given me the name of the supplier, it's given me the invoice number, and it's actually given me the value as well. And it's given me the option to reject it or approve it. Steve, give me the thumbs up. Should I approve or should I reject? I'm going to approve it. So we're going to say, okay, I'm happy to approve this. So I just need to type in approve, which I have done. Make sure my spelling is K-A-P-P-R-O-V-E. So I've now done that. I'm now going to send this back. So what should then happen is, once that has been done, this is then going to go back to the workflow. The workflow will then move the file from being an invoice to an approved invoice. And we should also see in here a message coming up telling us that that invoice has been approved. So what we've been able to do is have one invoice coming in, trigger off an event in Box, trigger off an approval process in a workflow, a BPM, and then finally, using a notification method such as Slack, being able to show us that that data has been approved and come through. As you can now see, this invoice has been approved. If I go back into Box now, I should be able to go into here, and I should eventually see that this document has been moved from the approved invoices, or from the invoices to the approved invoices, and there'll also be a note added to that as well. So again, you can see that's all come through. And in addition, I can actually see that the data has been updated into an SQL database. So if we want to do any further processing, such as duplication checks of invoices when they're being processed, we have the data here. If we want to do any analytics on number of invoices that have been received or whatever by using an external tool, we can use that data as well within this environment. So there's one invoice coming in, transacts key to that whole process where we didn't even see transact running, has been able to spark all these 3 or 4 different events from occurring. Let me just make sure, see if the final bit has been done. So let's update this. So we've now got in the approved invoices, so invoices, it's been moved from here to here. And we can now see this has come in, there's a comment been added to it, and the comment is invoice approved. So 2 out of the 3 demos successful, to show you how Transact can work with other applications, be it a RPA tool, or how it can be with a document management, workflow, BPM, case management, and messaging service as well. So from the demo point of view, that's me done, Steve.
Yep, thanks Al for the demo part. And I think what we're going to do now is just talk about some of the advanced features. So Al says walk you through the integration that we have natively out of the box. But as a company, we're always looking for practical solutions to help our customers sort of deploy faster and also scale up and become more accurate, and again, cover more use cases. So quickly, Alex is just going to cover a couple of the key features that we've just introduced in our latest version of the product before I'll wrap us up. Al, do you want to just dive into that?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that we've just recently introduced, well, there's two major things that we've introduced, and one of them, the first one I'm going to talk about, is the handwriting recognition. And I have to say, I've got a couple of slides on this, but this is, for me, this has been it's been really interesting the way this has worked. So the problem has been is how can we actually improve it, how can we expand on it, because there's a lot of documents that we've been using recently or been seeing where handwriting has been coming into play, such as things like application forms. It could be things like checks that are coming in. I've recently done a large project with processing checks, and previously when we was using Rico and John's, OCR, they're suitable for sort of some handwriting, but things like checks and what have you, I've always had problems with them. But using this new the new process, been fantastic. Things like getting the actual written amounts off of a check in handwriting has been superb. So it's now having this new technology has allowed us to expand on that and take us to projects that were difficult before. So actually, can you just go back and one as well? So again, how do we address this? By offering it as a cloud solution. And sorry, Steve, we can go on to the next one. And this is I've actually got this loaded as a project. If we have time, I can just shoot back and show you it. But looking at this in the sample with Michael Smith, the name free written Michael Smith and what have you. Previously, this would have been very difficult to extract. Now we're actually seeing the results that they're showing here. These are genuine results, and I say I'm happy to show this as well because I've got a project that's loaded showing this very data. But things, where before we had the constraint boxes, we'd always insist on constraint boxes to get a decent read. We are now getting, if you look at the cloud hyperextender, we're actually now getting very good. Michael Smith is coming out. The free format Michael Smith is coming out. The numbers are coming out correctly. And even if you look at the quick brown fox text over there, we're also getting excellent results on that too. And again, I'm quite happy to share that with you and to show that. And things like the name at the bottom, which Wan's name, picking it out every single time as being correct in the format that we have. So very excited about what we have here, and one of my colleagues always introduces me as a veteran to the industry because I've been around for quite a few years, and I have to say that over the years, that handwriting has been it's been a key thing for me, I think, in the way that we can now recognize this handwriting. Thanks.
Fortunately, we don't have too much time to see a demo, but now we've just got one other feature we'd also like to quickly talk about.
And again, one of the other exciting features that we've just pulled in is the AI table builder for invoices. What is the problem? Customers need a solution for easier and faster setup for table line item extraction in invoices. This is something we see a lot where invoices come in and they're in the data's virtually the same, but it's in different formats and it's in different, if you like, in different structures. So from a configuration point of view, we need to go in and configure it. But however, with using the new table builder, it's very easy, very quick and easy to go in there and do this. I'm not going to say on the fly, but within the actual validation screen. And it's very easy to use. And here we're seeing it now. It's a very intuitive method of actually being able to extract data from and design tables. And this will, what happens is, as soon as we do this design, as soon as we save this away, next time this invoice comes through, the system recognizes it and goes through that whole sort of process. So it's basically a point and click to be able to design table extraction, and the actual design will stay there for any sort of future invoices that come through from this particular organization within this particular structure.
Great. So yeah, there's obviously a lot to cover on those two areas. We just wanted to quickly touch on them just to follow on around the conversation track about scalability, to also showcase some of the thoughts and some of the features we're putting into the solution to continue on that track around how do we scale, how do we optimize, and how do we provide further ROI for customers. So thanks again, Al, for that. But to wrap us up now, what I'm going to do is just summarize our unique offering in partnership with Deloitte. And really, these can be bucketed, put into three key buckets. I won't go through all the specific points, but the first one being our modern agile platform. So over, again, the last 2 years, we've done a number of different projects, but a lot of them have been around modernization. So just replacing legacy applications and moving on to something more modern and agile, which really feeds into what we do. Number two, again, we spoke about this a lot, is the ability to scale up due to Transact's ease of use and configurability. And with the guided training that us and Deloitte provide, the solution can be picked up very quickly. And then the third point, which is a big factor, and again, Ron spoke about cost obviously being very important in this region, is the fact that we do offer a very flexible licensing model. So we generally work very closely with our customers and our partners to ensure that we provide a model that suits them and in regards, because every business builds their business case and their justification differently. So our model and our flexible model really feeds into that and allows us to work with them, and so they can get certain business cases and justifications approved a lot easier than they can in the past. So with that, we've got 5 minutes left. I can see there are a number of questions. So what we will do is address as many as we can with the 5 minutes left. But then if we can't get to any of the questions in the Q&A, we'll take a note of those, and we'll be following up with all the participants and attendees afterwards to make sure we address those as well. So what we'll do first is dive into the first question we had, which was actually asked previously. This one I'm actually probably going to refer to you, Ron, because this falls under your wheelhouse. How long versus other solutions does Ephesoft take to deploy? As we've found, other solutions generally take a long time, whether it's months or weeks to months.
Thanks, Stephen. Yes, so in our experience, and that's the reason, one of the reasons I would say why we chose Ephesoft is that the implementation time is much shorter compared to other technologies that are template-based. So here with Ephesoft, you have a level of intelligence that make it easier to implement. So on our projects, we generally budget 3 weeks for very complex processes that use scan documents, typically AP. We would budget 3 weeks of work with Ephesoft.
Right. Thanks, Ron. Question 2. So does Ephesoft need to be configured on a local machine, or can it work on a browser? As we found in the experience, other solutions still need to be configured on the machine. So that's a good question. I can take that one quickly. The answer to that is we don't need to be configured on any local machine. We're 100% browser-based, so everything can be configured on the browser. And that really falls into it. That's a key differentiator of our solution, the fact that it's lean, it's agile, and everything can be done on the browser. So that, hopefully that helps clarify that answer. So just referring to a couple more, a few of them are asking, will we be able to share a copy of the recorded webinar and the slides? So that's a quick one. Yes, we'll be able to do that. So you'll all get a copy of the slides and the recording afterwards. Next one, can intelligent ICR support Asian character set? So again, short answer to that one is yes. We've done multiple projects supporting those simplified traditional Chinese, Thai, Bahasa as well. So languages aren't a problem, and we can actually refer you to our online doc site. We actually list the number of languages that we support. Okay. Next question, I'm going to defer to you, Alistair, for this one. What about data that is sudden and occurs at that time? Can it be changed instantly?
Okay, I'm trying to need a bit more detail about that, but I'm going to say yes, it can. If we get data we haven't seen before, there's certain ways that we can do that using certain technologies such as the auto KV extraction. So the answer is yes, we can. But I would like to have a bit more of a discussion with you about that, Arthur, if that's possible.
Okay, next one. Instead of extracting information from a standard form, how flexible is Transact to extract information from an article or an email? That one again would be for you, Alistair.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, again, that's something that we've done quite a few projects where we've extract key data out of emails or articles. So again, yes, that's part and parcel of what we do.
Okay, and I think we've got time for one more, and again, it'll be for you, Al. A lot of technical questions coming on the Q&A. Do you have any use cases of integrating into electronic document and records management systems, e.g.
such as TRIM? Yeah, we've done a few projects over, especially in Australia, where we've done integration into TRIM. So again, yes, we can do that. As I say, integration, I never see integration as a major issue, but certainly we have done that before in the past.
Okay, so listen, we've got finished 1 minute early, so we've got timing just about right. Pretty rare for us. So thanks, Alistair. Thank you very much to our guest speaker as well, Romain, for joining and sharing his insights. And again, also thank you for everyone who registered and attended. we'll be following up with all of you afterwards. And for those questions in the Q&A, we'll actually locate and find each of you and actually explain in a little more depth as well when we've got a bit more time. So again, thank you everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sure we'll talk to all of you soon. Have a good day.